Let's see. Hello. Welcome you all. Okay. I'm Tatiana from Books and Toys. Okay. And today I'm here to welcome Carolina. Okay. She's going to deliver the webinar today. Okay. Nurture Student Wellbeing through Reading, in which we'll be talking about social emotional learning, right? So, on behalf of Books and Toys, okay, I'd like to thank, okay, you, Carolina, and exchange, uh, my sharing, you that and thank you for sharing with us all your expertise, okay, and your insights today. So it's a pleasure to introduce you. Carolina Buitrago is the Literacy and Social Emotional Learning Consultant for Latin America and the Caribbean at Scholastic. With over 20 years of experience in English language teaching and teacher training, Carolina has become a highly respected voice in the field. She has taught postgraduate courses on social emotional learning, okay, contributing greatly to advancement of social emotional learning in education. So her background includes work as instructional designer for various universities and private institutions, where she has developed programs that enrich learning experience and support educators. Since 2021, Karina has also served on the board of the Flipped Learning Network, okay, underscoring her commitment to innovative and flexible learning approaches. Her academic journey spans a master's degree in Educational Technology and TESOL from the University of Manchester, a certificate in English from Mount Holyoke College, and a master's in Positive Education from Universidad Tecmilenio in Mexico. So, on behalf of Books and Toys, I'd like to extend our warmest, thanks to you, Carolina, right?
Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Books and Toys, for bringing me virtually, initially, only virtually to Brazil. I hope we
Exactly.
can see each other face to face very soon. Okay.
Okay, the floor is yours, right?
Thank you so much, Tatiana, and everybody in
Thank
the
you.
chat box. Thank you so much for telling us where you're coming from. This is wonderful. Thank you. I'm really excited and happy to be touching a little bit of Brazil, even if it's through the camera.
Thank you.
As Tatiana mentioned, we are going to be talking today about one of my passions, one of the greatest topics that there is, and I think, which is SEL, social emotional learning, and how to nurture our students' well-being through reading. I mean, all my passions are in that sentence. Reading is something I love to do as a person, as a mom, as a teacher, and SEL is something that I have discovered a lot of value on, right? So let me see if I can get my hands on this quickly. I'm trying to learn how to use this wonderful tool, right? So we are going to start by watching a video. It's a 3-minute, 30-second video, and I would hope for you to have your concentration on to hear from some experts in TESOL what SEO is. Okay, so we are going to take a look at that video. Ready, set, and go.
School should be where everyone feels comfortable and everyone should know that everyone's unique and you don't have to be perfect.
SEL is really about the holistic development of young people.
Social emotional learning to me provides students with purpose. SEL was a great foundation and catalyst for me. It taught me to value education and value human connection.
Social and emotional learning is the process by which children grow and develop their emotional lives and their relationships.
Well, social emotional learning gives the space where people can actually look at students as more than just numbers on a standardized test. We give people the space to explore who they are as people, to look at their identity, to recognize how important relationships are, and what it means to be a successful human, not just a successful student.
In my classroom, they are able to share the things that are personal to them. They're able to celebrate one another's differences. They're inclusive of each other despite what race, socioeconomic, or gender they're from.
SEL promotes academic achievement in effective ways, raising test scores 11 percentile points. It reduces anxiety and distress as well. So it improves pro-social behavior and how kids get along and attend in the classroom.
SEL is rocket fuel. It is the thing that can actually accelerate the advancement of our society.
When I think about a healthy environment for my daughter, I'm looking at, are those teachers engaged? Are they showing her to be an empathetic person? When teachers are engaged and they have that engagement with the students are going to excel.
The educators, the families, the community members, and the students agree that this is important.
How do we make sure that kids don't just get a segment of their life where social and emotional learning is important, but they're getting that in all parts of their life?
Right now, we have an untapped pool of talent. And so the idea is to leverage SEL in order to help young people realize those talents and thereby help the broader society and, in fact, the world.
We really can create schools that inspire, that help students find their sense of self, that help students find their sense of purpose, to learn how to relate to one another, and to better prepare kids for wherever they choose to go in life.
Well, SEL taught you to step up when you need to, but also step back when you had to. So you were creating space for yourself, but also making space for others.
Now we open a new chapter, and the new chapter is inviting educators, families, young people, scholars, policymakers, inviting the whole country into the dialogue about the kind of social and emotional development we want to promote for all of our children in the future.
Okay, well, so as I mentioned, TESOL is one of the organizations, as you could hear from the video, that in the United States have been working on SEL and that have created this framework. But I would like to know from you, what do you think? So how important do you think SEL is for your academic endeavors? I would like you to use one of the options that we have here. It is extremely important, very important, not important. I think it's a way to spoil children and make them weak. I'd rather not say what I think. So can you please vote? We have a couple votes already. Thank you so much. Let's take a look at those votes. Great, we have 33 attendees. So we might be expecting at least 15, 20, I guess. So let's see. Okay, so far so good. We have some extremely important, some think it's very important, right? Great. It's still moving on, those two, right? Fortunately, we don't have anyone saying that's a way to spoil children and make them weak, right? Okay, and so you might say, hi, Carolina, but very interesting to hear a video about the United States. They always do those things. They always, have this great ideas and these great institutions. But let me show you something. I ran a simple Google search about what is happening in Latin America. And surprisingly, I found a newspaper article that said that socio-emotional learning found to reduce hyperactivity and improve sociability of Brazilian children, right? This is not something that is being only used in more developed countries like Europe or Australia or the United States, but also our Latin American countries have discovered or have seen the importance of exploring social emotional learning in our classrooms. This is an article from September 2023, right? And very proudly, I have to say that my country also showed up in the search. Colombian government advocates for social and emotional learning in education to promote well-being and social justice. Just this year, July 19, we had a decree approved to teach social emotional learning in all school environments, public schools in Colombia. Yes, most private schools have done this for a long time, and I don't know how that is in Brazil, but I imagine it's pretty similar to Colombia, which is public education is always regulated by the country, and usually takes a little longer, to adapt and make changes that private schools make sooner, creating or enlarging that gap. So definitely we need to take a look at what is happening in the world and seeing that social emotional learning is not anymore a trend or, oh, it's the flavor of the month. No, actually, no. And if you find in the UNESCO Digital Library, if you search, you're going to find an amazing report that was published in 2019, and it's called Assessment of Socio-Emotional Skills Among Children and Teenagers of Latin America. So I'm not going to get into the sad part of this. It's Friday afternoon, and we don't want to talk about bullying and suicide and teen problems of anxiety, anorexia, and all these things that we know, but we know. We know things are happening. We know the pandemic also created some situations that for our students have been very difficult to get around. So how can we bridge this gap if we are not psychologists? We are language teachers. We are educators. We are not experts in, creating these spaces for students to express their emotions, etc. But we can do that from our classroom. We can do that from our reading classroom. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So going back to the definition, proposed by TESOL. TESOL is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. At the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, we envision all children and adults as self-aware, caring, responsible, engaged, and lifelong learners who work together to achieve their goals and create a more inclusive, just world. How? Through a commitment to SEL. Doesn't this sound beautiful? I know it might sound a little bit utopic, like we think, oh yes, sure, everybody being self-aware, caring, responsible, engaged, and lifelong learners. Well, if in our Latin American countries we are aggressive, defensive, it's because of our education. It's because what has been happening in families. It's because those things that we have learned since we were children. Los niños no lloran, boys don't cry, right? La niña se sienta bonito. Girls should sit up straight. Or bravita no te ves bonita. If you look angry, you don't look pretty. Those are things that I remember hearing when I was growing up. And those things, they do create, ideas and beliefs in children's brains. What if we started to change those narratives? And what if we started to give them tools from now when they're little, so when they grow up, they have different ways to cope with situations and with life itself? And what about if we as adults also learned some new techniques, some new tools? Would you like that? I would definitely love that. Okay, so moving on. This is what they talked about. There was a list, when they talked about the castle model. And I don't know if you picked it up from the video, but they frequently mentioned families, children, schools, administratives. This is not something that we are supposed just to do in our classroom once we close the door. The idea is for us to build an entire community around the teaching of SEL, and we all contribute to this development. I bet something has happened to you because I've experienced it as a teacher, which is you do amazing things in the classroom, but then things happen at home that kind of break everything that is happening in your classroom, right? So that's why we need this effort to be global, to be complete, to be a community effort. So if you see in this image that Castle proposes, we have in the inner circle, we have what is called social and emotional learning, SEL, right? Then we have the 5 different domains or the 5 different aspects that we are going to look into that are self-awareness. I'm going to read some notes. Know your strengths and limitations with a well-grounded sense of competence, optimism, and a growth mindset. So this self-awareness is very important. As I mentioned, when you're growing up and someone tells you, you don't do anything right, you always mess up, what is happening in your brain? You are actually creating that limiting belief that says that you are incapable. But if you develop a growth mindset as a child, you know that challenges are fine, that mistakes are part of the process, and that it is okay to fail, right? So it's a different mindset there. Now, self-management is the other orange one. It is effectively manage stress, control impulses, and motivate yourself to set and achieve goals. How many times have you made a mistake because you were angry and you didn't breathe enough? How many times have you had to go to the doctor because you were so sick of stress? The doctor says, no, everything is fine. Your colon is okay. Your stomach is fine. And then you realize it's just the poor management of stress. I'm asking these questions because I have had to do that because I did not learn this as a child, right? So self-management gives us the tools to learn to manage ourselves, manage our stress, set goals, know where we want to go, organize ourselves, right? Then we are going to move on to this little yellow, like dark yellow one, which is responsible decision making. This one is about making constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions based on ethical standards, safety, and social norms. How important is this today when the digital world is ruling our students' lives, when they want to have their identity not only on social media but on games? For example, Roblox, Minecraft, Pazu for the girls, or Toca Boca, these games that require them to have this identity. They are being forced to make ethical decisions all the time. So this is what responsible decision making is all about. Of course, you might think, Carolina, but I only teach preschool. Yes, you need to have your students make responsible decisions. Am I going to have chocolate for breakfast? Okay. Then we have the green ones. That, as you can see, the green ones are the most social ones, right? So we have social awareness, which is an understanding of the perspectives of others and empathizing with them, including those from diverse backgrounds and cultures. I don't know how migration situations are there in Brazil, but in Colombia, we have had a big migration from our Venezuelan compatriots because of the situation in their country. And this has raised important issues in our country, in our schools, because kids need to be educated into receiving, into being welcoming, into understanding different cultures, different perspectives. And so maybe you don't have as big migration, but probably in your city, in Sao Paulo, you're going to get lots of people from the different parts of Brazil, which is the same as Bogota. And so we get all these different cultures in there. And so this is an opportunity to develop the social awareness of our students. And relationship skills, well, these refer to communicating clearly, listening well, cooperating with others, resisting inappropriate social pressure, negotiating conflict constructively, and seeking and offering help when needed. So of all of these, skills that I have mentioned, which one do you think is not important? Well, I would say all of them are important because they construct the person as a whole, right? And that's what this TESOL, the model, presents. And so as you can see, the first circle, the inner circle, is the classrooms. And SEL curriculum and instruction. We, the teachers, we are the ones that are the most hours of the day with the students. And so we are the ones who can start making this happen in our curriculum. Then it goes out into school-wide practices and policies. And so, of course, if we're doing good things in our classroom that are helping our students ask for help, develop a growth mindset, understand their limitations, etc., then we want to move that to the school level so that when you do something amazing in pre-K, it doesn't disappear when the student goes to the first grade, right? And then we need to involve family and community partnerships. We need to involve everyone, home and communities, because we are not doing anything. And we're doing all these great things at schools, but then parents are hitting them at home and are using physical violence and are using abuse as a way to discipline their children, right? So I understand it's a difficult endeavor, but it's not impossible. And the good thing is we start in our classrooms, right? So we're going to take a look at SEL in practice. Thank you, Anita. Yes, that's true. Gradually expanding from a smaller environment to a bigger one. That is the dream, right? That's the goal. So we're going to see how SEL plays in practice, right? So I want to introduce you to my future husband. No, I'm kidding. I think he's probably married. But Mark Brackett, he is the director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. He is also a professor of the Yale Child Studies Center, and he is genius. He has come up with this model called the mood meter, and he has this book, Permission to Feel. I'm not getting anything out of promoting this book. It's just the book that I read as a teacher and as a mom, and I found it really, really helpful. What he does in Permission to Feel is to show us how, we can understand the power of emotions to help our kids, ourselves, and our society thrive, as it says on the cover of the book. So this idea, or the idea that Mark Brackett presents, is that it enhances self and social awareness and supports the development of a nuanced emotion vocabulary and a range of strategies for regulating emotion. As an English teacher, this part of the nuanced emotion vocabulary was the most attractive to me because it's vocabulary. It's words that I can teach, right? It's things that I can help my students understand how they're feeling, but also learn vocabulary as we go, right? So I thought this was amazing. So I want to clarify something. SEL, the CASEL model, is a big framework, okay? Let's say that it's the umbrella framework. And then Mark Brackett's mood meter is a way to operationalize, of making real this idea of socio-emotional learning. How do we do it? Well, we can use Mark Brackett's mood meter and many other tools that exist. But today in our webinar, we are going to focus on this one, okay? So Mark Brackett's mood meter is part of a bigger framework, or an idea where the ultimate goal is to regulate emotions effectively. Let me see. You can see my mouse moving? Yes, you can. So that is our ultimate goal, right? To regulate emotions effectively. But when there is a big emotion for the children, we don't just say, calm down. When has somebody calmed down after you told them, calm down? Yeah, cálmese, it's not the best way to calm someone down, right? So the idea is to decrease the intensity of the emotion until we are able to regulate it, right? So his model presents an acronym, which is RULER, and it stands for R, for recognizing emotions in self and others, U, understanding the causes and consequences of those emotions, L, labeling emotions accurately, E, expressing emotions appropriately, and R, regulating emotions effectively, okay? So what we're going to do today is we are going to go through the 5 elements of RULER with one of Scholastic's books. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so when I say decrease the intensity of the emotion, what do I mean? Let's say that in this, in this moment, you are enraged, right? You could lift up a car. You could kill someone. Literally, unfortunately, when people kill, it's because their emotion is too high, right? So the idea would not be to go from enraged to ecstatic, happy, because that just doesn't happen that way, right? The idea would be to reduce the intensity of rage until, it becomes maybe fuming, maybe uneasy, right? We can just reduce the intensity of that emotion. And so the mood meter is a tool. Yeah, you can use this tool with your students, with yourself, in your classes. And what they present is, as you can see here, there are 25 words for each of the quadrants, right? So that makes up for 100 words to express emotion. And sorry, they are classified or they're cataloged in these 4 quadrants because they have specific characteristics, right? So There are some emotions that are high energy. So as you can see, the yellow and the red are high energy, right? Then we have some that are low energy, that are the green and the blue, right? But then we have, this is like the Y axis, but then we have the X axis, which is the level of pleasantness. So low pleasantness and pleasant are blue and red, yes? And high pleasantness are green and yellow, right? So depending on where our emotion is on this Cartesian plane, I guess, right? Then that's how it's going to be. So for example, static. Ecstatic is an emotion that has a high energy level, but high pleasantness level, right? So it's highly pleasant. And you, when you are ecstatic, think about the last concert you went for your favorite band. That is the emotion. When you feel like you can jump and you can be there for 3 hours jumping and, enjoying the music. But then when the concert is over, it's like your energy drops and you feel super down because you gave it so much energy, right? On the other side of the spectrum, we have the red ones, which are high energy but low pleasantness. They're not pleasant, yeah, but you have a lot of energy. That's why you smash your fists, or you can punch people, or you can break things, because the energy is so high, but the level of pleasantness is so low, right? We have the other ones that are low energy, that are, for example, the blue ones, the sadness, disappointment, depression. All of them are low pleasantness. They're not pleasant, and they're also low energy, right? So when you feel down, the words in English, right? We say, I feel down, I feel blue. It's because this emotion presents a low level of energy and a low level of pleasantness, this type of emotions, right? And then we have the green ones that are like the cool ones, it's high pleasantness, very high pleasantness. It's super cool. It's chill. It's enjoyable, but it's low energy. So it's not the emotion, like excitement that you get in an amusement park, but probably it is what you feel when you are with your loved one walking by the lake, just listening to the chirping of the birds, right? That is low energy, but it's very, very pleasant. Okay, so why is this good? Why is it important for me as a teacher to know this information? Well, because if I can identify where my students are in these different quadrants, I can plan instruction. I can create opportunities for them to express, to identify, to understand, to label their emotion. I can play with this and really make, and really go beyond just, teaching my lesson. So, as I mentioned, we are going to go through one of our books, which is Mimi and the Boohoo Blast, right? This is part of our social-emotional learning classroom library, which you have the link to on the top of our screen. You can go ahead and check that. Oh my God, I'm sorry, school bus is going through. So you can click on that, take a look at the website, and see all of our classroom library. But also you can contact Tatiana, who will be very, very happy to give you more information on this. This is one of the books. There are many. This is one of the kindergarten books, right? We have these collections. They go from K to 6, and you can find a wide array of books about different types of social-emotional learning topics, not only emotions, but friendship, resilience, dealing with grief, growth, etc. But we're going to work on this one because we are trying to work on the ruler, right? So let's start. The first letter is that R, right? Recognizing emotions. So the first thing we do is we notice how we feel. We can ask our students, notice how you feel. Notice your posture. Notice your facial expression. Notice your breathing. So you're going to take a second, everyone in your place, wherever you are, you're going to take a second and try to answer this. How are you sitting? How are you, what is your facial expression? How are you breathing? Yeah? Just think about it for a second. Just observe yourself. Look at yourself. Just before I asked you this question, I was like with my elbows on the table, but then I asked you the question and I sat up straight, right? I changed my position just because I wanted more energy to go through. So if you take a look at the emoji, you have the little Bitmoji picture right there. Where would this feeling belong on the mood meter, according to what I explained regarding energy, energy pleasantness idea? Blue. Thank you, Daniela. Yes, blue, the blue quadrant, right? Look at the face. Eyebrows go down, right? Lips go down. Arm, it's kind of holding the weight of the body because you want to just drop, right? So the whole posture tells us a lot about what is happening. We have heard this before, we have explored this as teachers. Body language. Body language tells a lot about what's happening. And children are very transparent about how they feel. Maybe teenagers want to send mixed messages, but we can trust the body language, right? It's going to help us see what happens. And another thing, we might not be aware of that, so we might pay attention to that. So for example, when you're feeling anger, notice what you feel. Notice where you feel it, right? Normally, when I'm angry, I feel like a red ball. I feel like it's a red ball of fire on my chest. Yeah, like it's something about to kind of burst. That's when I feel angry. Some other people might feel it in the palm of their hands, like warm, or they might feel in the head, right? So it's good to have these exercises with your students. Notice your posture, notice your facial expression, notice your breathing. Okay, I'm going to take a look because there is a question here. Somebody says if I'm breaking up or if it's just her. Are you all listening okay? I'm going to continue as if you were, okay? Just in case, remember, this is going to be recorded and you can watch the recording later. Okay, good. So thinking about Mimi and the Boohoo Blast, our book from Shana Grant, where in the mood meter do you think Mimi is according to her face? Look at Mimi's face. So where do you think she is in the mood meter? Red, yellow, blue, or green? Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Daniela. Yes, red. She looks angry, right? So take a look at her eyebrows. Okay, let's see. Yes, take a look at her eyebrows. She's pouting. Her cheeks are inflated, like she's like, right? She really wants to make sure we know she is angry, right? Or maybe not angry, but something in the red. Yeah, we can tell she is somewhere in the red. Okay, wonderful. Now, second letter in our acronym ruler, it's U, understanding emotions. So we need to understand, why am I feeling this way? Yeah, I notice that I'm hot. I notice that I'm shaking. I notice that I want to explode, but why? So think about the situation like it's a movie you're watching. Remember what led you to feel this way. So why do I feel this way? What was I doing when I began to feel this way? Does this remind me of another experience? So, ladies, think about your kitchen. You walk into your kitchen and there is milk spilled all over the counter. You feel angry. I don't know. If you're like me, you feel angry, right? Why do I feel this way? Oh, I'm so frustrated because every time I come from work, I have to clean. Nobody understands this. Oh my goodness, I'm so tired of working with the little children all day and now I have to clean this milk, right? Why? What was I doing when I began to feel this way? I was coming home. I was hoping that I could just sit down and watch my series or walk in the park with my son and my dog or sit down and sip some tea. But then I have to change this and clean the milk, right? Does this remind me of another experience? Of course. It reminds me of every day. I have told my children to please clean after themselves, but they haven't, boo, boo, boo. And then I am watching this movie, but I'm trying to be conscious of that. Think about children. When children like a movie, I don't know, my children are like that. They watch movies like 45 times, you know. Rio, the one from Brazil, which is actually pretty good because I'm with you here. The Rio movie, they watched at least 68 times, right? Why? Because the more times they watch the movie, the more details they pick up. And so we as adults, we might absorb a lot of information just with once watching a movie because our senses are more expanded, right? But children, they need more repeated ways to see this movie in order to capture more details because their attention spans are shorter. Since our attention spans are longer, we can focus on more and grapple more, but they cannot. And so the same happens with their emotions. They need to see this many times. They need to understand this movie and they need to see the movie of their emotions many, many times so that they can understand why they are feeling that way, right? So let's take a look at Mimi once again, right? So understanding emotions. Here, let's take a look at this part. What is grumpy? In what picture is Mimi grumpy, right? I can ask my kids this question. I wrote the letter grumpy in red on purpose, right? Does the same happen to you? Is it hard to express when you have the blahs? And so we're going to take a look at the page. The blahs are when you feel a little down. Boo-hoo. Sometimes it's hard to express how we feel when we have the blahs, right? So we can take a look at the page. We can explore the pictures with our students. We can notice the different faces that Mimi is making. But we can also notice her friend, Penelope, is the one talking, right? So she's describing that sometimes we can call, things that we don't know how to express, the blast. I think the connection between these two topics is great. I mean, the book and the mood meter is as if it were like planned. It's just how this works, right? Vocabulary can be taught and we can help our students with this. The third part is labeling those emotions. Yeah, now we know we feel the blah, right? So let's take a look. How can we label those emotions? Finding the right words to describe your feelings means that you can understand your own experiences and others and ask for help and help others, right? The more precise you label, the easier it'll be to communicate your feelings, okay? So how many times have you responded with meh to the question, how are you? Yeah, how are you? Meh. In Colombia, we say like, I, like there. What is that? That is not a word for emotion, right? We have now, with the mood meter, we have 100 words to label that emotion we're feeling, right? So what is this feeling called when you say like, I'm lost? What is that feeling called? Force of habit, right, Anita? Yes, that's right. And this is something that we as adults can educate ourselves on too. Yeah, to start, and you in the schools with your friends, you can, test each other and see, okay, give me one more word. And what is a new word that you learned for emotion? So we can label with this. We don't say I'm excited only. We can say surprised, upbeat, festive, exhilarated, ecstatic, hyper, cheerful, motivated, inspired, elated, etc. Right? And so that's another thing. This for teachers, language teachers, is a great opportunity to teach very useful vocabulary, right? We can teach these words. We can actually, if you go into the Mood Meter website, Mark Brackett's website, you can find lesson plans to work with this, right? This is not Scholastic, but actually it's pretty useful for any teacher, yeah? So labeling emotions. Let's take a look at Mimi. So here's Mimi's mom, right? Here's your breakfast, Mimi. So she's happy, she's excited because she just got a plate, but, look at the face. She got a little confused. And then look at the blah. Let me see if you can see my mouse. Yeah, the little blah just came up. Blah. Yeah, she expresses the blah. So Mimi calls her feelings the blast because she doesn't know what to call them. What is this feeling called? Teachers, I'm asking you, what is this feeling called when we say bleh because of something that we don't want to eat? Let's see if it comes right up to there we go. Disgust. Yes, disgust. So they don't know the word. A little kid doesn't know the word. Remember, this book is for kindergarten. So she just goes blah, right? So we can explore the pictures with your students and try to get them to tell you what this feeling is, right? Ask them to write or to trace or to select a flashcard depending on what you're using in those days. After we have been able to label emotions, we need to express them, right? We need to express our emotions in a way that helps other people understand how they can help you. Write about your feelings, talk to someone you trust, move your body. Our students need to learn that punching, biting, hitting, yelling are not appropriate ways to express emotion. And they need to learn that first from example, right? Modeling from us, from their parents. They do that. They bring from home whatever they see. And then also we can teach them some techniques, right? And we can use our literature to do that. So here we have Mimi, right? Mimi, I wish I could just show you how blah I feel. She's telling her friend Penelope, right? What does Mimi do to show her friend how blah she feels? Look at the next picture. I know, She gets an idea. Rustle, 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 and then she gets something out. What does she get? What is she going to use to tell Penelope how she feels? Remember, this is a kindergarten book, so I'm waiting for the chat. Somebody to write what she's going to do. The magic, yes, exactly. Thank you, Daniela. The magic crayon. So she's going to draw. Yes, Anita, she's going to draw. And so drawing for kids is an amazing strategy. And here we are through the story teaching our students how they can deal with those emotions and express them in a good way, right? So she just starts kind of drawing what she feels or sees, right? So it's just, and then she, has this blah all over her, the blue thing. I didn't show you all the book, but during the story, she has different friends trying to help her, deal with her blahs. And so she dresses up as superheroes with one friend. She flies or dresses up as a bird and flies with the other friend. She dances with the other group of friends, right? And she's really frustrated at this point in the story. I did so many fun things today, but the blast keeps sneaking up on me and made me feel bad. Yeah. And so she draws herself sad, and the blah is huge. It's winning. And then they're both sad. Oh, I'm tired of feeling bad, she says. Scribble, 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 scribble. She's drawing. She's really happy, right? And then look at what happened. She made some funny hair. She made some glasses. She made some stuff to the blah. And she started laughing, right? Oh, that's so much better. And then Penelope goes, I agree. And look at the blah. The blah is confused. So now she started making fun of her blah, right? So hunk. Now she put some flowers on it, turned it into a cat. And so the moment has come, the ultimate goal for the ruler method, regulating emotions. So my question is to myself or to my students is, can I adjust this feeling? Do I have to feel this bad, or can I lower it a little bit, right? When you are overwhelmed by a feeling, try to decrease its intensity. What I said initially, you don't just jump from one quadrant to the other, right? Think about yourself, like when you are, I don't know, watching a terror movie or in a terror house or something like that. How do you try to regulate yourself? Yeah, first you yell or do something, try not to hit the people in the thing. But then you start kind of like, okay, this is a lie, this is fantasy. And you start breathing, right? So breathe deeply, plan ahead. What can I do the next time that I find this feeling? Distract yourself, right? For example, with the terror house example, you can just start thinking about birds, pretty birds, flamingos. Oh, I love flamingos. Okay. Reframe, adjust your interpretation, visualize your best self. This is important information here. For example, when we're angry, right? I'm angry. I walk into the teacher's lounge and this teacher, I say, hi, how are you? And then she doesn't respond back. Immediately my reaction, my reactive state will just get angry, right? But then if I reframe, I can say, she's not mad at me. She just must be going through something at home. You reframe the situation and it immediately goes away, right? So we can teach students these techniques as well. And so here we're going to take a look at Mimi and what she did. So she started laughing at her blah with all the little drawings that she was making, and the blah got smaller and smaller, right? You know, Mimi, your blah seemed to be going away. Notices Penelope. And she's like, oh, yeah, I guess all I needed to do was to face the blast. Ah, how beautiful is this? And the blah is just little and poof. You're right, Penelope. Having the blast is normal. But I'm happy they're gone and we can get back to doing what makes us happy, right? So through this story, we are going through the whole model of socio-emotional learning that Mark Brackett produces. Teachers, this is just one book in our classroom library. This is just one of the many, many, many books that you have that you can include into your instruction to easily, in a fun way, with beautiful drawings, beautiful interactions with your students and the text, you can really have these discussions and these reflections. So I'm going to show you some of our products, right, that we can complement this with. So the Socio-emotional Learning Classroom Library is what you have there on the top, right, that link on the top of the screen. Then you have also some printable resources. You have some printable discussion cards that you can use with your students. You can have these questions just in case you don't know, how to get around some of these topics. You also have a teacher's guide to use with the classroom library, okay? Because we know that you are busy and there are thousands of things that you need to do. So we have already pre-planned that for you. We also have the ready-to-read collections, right? And Chloe Wonders. These are two additional cell resources that you can get your hands on. Chloe is kind of a saga, 25 books, where Chloe manages all kinds of emotions, all kinds of questions, all kinds of problems she solves, right? Then we also have these libraries, like if you go into our websites, for example, this is the trade book list generator. So you can go into that website from Scholastic and you can select the filters, right? So you can filter it with character and values, family and relationships, feelings and emotions, whatever you need. So you can create a small collection or a small list of the books that you want that have these topics in mind. Also, look at this one. We have fear, for example. All this is a collection that just deals with fear. And so we have Goosebumps, we have Buster, we have I Survived with the shark, and stuff. So you can really organize these libraries as you see fit. And also we have Literacy Pro, which is our website. Our platform has thousands and thousands of books. I'm not exaggerating. It's like 4,000 books, right? And we have a filter for social and emotional learning. And they also have this, what is called interactive read alouds, which is lesson plans that can accompany these books and help you, busy teachers, which we know you are, so into really creating these lessons where your students are not only learning English, learning the language, but they're also developing these very important socio-emotional learning skills. Okay, here's another one with the socio-emotional learning filter, right? And just to remind you, just to close what I wanted to share with you, when students feel safe and supported, they are truly ready and able to learn. Yeah. And this is not only children as your students, but your inner children too, right? Remember that we are educating this new generation, but we're also in charge of educating our inner child. And so as teachers, we can do that. We can learn and we can take profit of all these resources that are available to make this magic happen. Whenever you need that we, Scholastic, visit you or have a webinar for your school privately, you can talk to Bianca Palumbo, our sales rep, and she'll be more than happy to set that up with me. Okay? So, well, thank you so much for being here, for your participation and your attention. And, well, let's ask some questions. Are there any questions in the audience? I thank you more. Thank you so much for participating, for being so active in the chat box. It's a little difficult, to be here on this side of the screen, but the chat box was really, really nice to see that you were engaged. You're very welcome. Oh, wonderful. I'm glad you liked the presentation. So remember, Tatiana from Books and Toys or Bianca from Scholastic, they will be more than happy to help you. And hopefully we can meet each other face-to-face there in Brazil. Oh, great, Daniela. Thank you. Azadeh, thank you so much for your comment. Well, I think if there are no questions, then we can wrap it up, right, Tatiana? What do you say?
Thank you once more, Carolina.
Okay, thank you. There we go. That's it.
And
that's my
thank you
email.
all, guys, for being here. Okay, you can count on me or Bianca, to help you select some cell books for your lessons or for your school. Right?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Tatiana, for the invitation.
Thank you, Carolina. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.